Hello, my name is Lee Knight. I'm a HotDocs developer, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate some HotDocs scripting techniques that I developed and that I like to call the index data system. The basic idea of this system is to provide a way to store data in HotDocs answer files in a table-like format, and to provide an interface for the user to select records in the table, and then finally to merge records into the template in a convenient manner. Now, the system has some advantages for both users and developers. From the user's perspective, it allows them to input names, addresses, and so on just once at the beginning of the interview process. For example, the user may input information for a particular person and then designate that person for a variety of roles, such as executor, agent, beneficiary, child, etc., without having to retype the person's name or other data. The system also provides a familiar drop-down interface that allows users to make quick selections during the interview, and it also allows users to add or modify names on the fly, in other words, during the assembly. And then from the developer's point of view, this system can dramatically reduce the number of variables that the developer needs to create for a template or a set of templates. Okay, so the first thing I will do is I'll show you what this looks like from the user's perspective. So I developed a sample will template. I'm going to start that assembly. First thing you see is a repeating dialog for contacts, and I'm going to enter some names. And I'll add another few more names quickly. Add a couple of organizations. Okay, then moving on. So you'll see that now that I've entered all of the names that are associated with this particular matter, I can quickly select the testator spouse, children, executors. We'll say Judy and Elroy, and we'll add another level with a backup of Galaxy Bank. Now we've got some tangible personal property, some specific gifts. I'm going to give the hovercraft to Judy. I'm going to give a jetpack to Elroy. Cog collection is going to go to the Robotics Foundation. Whoops. Okay, and then we're done. So I'll send this to my word processor. Won't bother saving this for now. And let's see, where's my document? Okay, so this is the end result, and I've put some highlighting in the template, which will make it easier for you to see how the information has been merged into the template. And I'll just slowly scroll through here. There's our executors, Judy and Elroy, otherwise Galaxy Bank. Okay, so that's what this looks like from the user's point of view. Next, I'm going to take a look under the hood and show you how the component file is set up to achieve this result. Well, actually, first I'm going to start an assembly. No, first I'm going to open the component manager. And then I'll start an assembly just so we can sort of have those running concurrently to refer to. Okay. So this is just an assembly with some answers that I input previously. Okay, so first thing we'll look at is the contacts dialog. So the context dialog has all the variables that we want to use to collect the information here for each person. So you'll see that I've started in naming these variables. I've just inserted a C underscore, and that's just a convention to help me find those variables quickly in the list if I need to. And of course, it's a repeated series. Also created a full name variable, which is just for convenience purposes, and that is generated in my script. This has a lot of fancy stuff in here that I won't go over now because it's not really important for this tutorial, but I just wanted to show you that here is where this line here is where I pull together the first name and the last name variables. Okay? The next thing I want to show you is the drop-down variables that you saw. And those, when I create them and name them, I add an underscore SEL, and I call them selector variables. So we'll take a look at one. And there's no magic to this, it's just a multiple choice variable. You want to make sure that it's a select one only. And you could style it as drop buttons or as any of these, but I find that the drop-down list works really nicely and it's very intuitive for the user. Now you'll notice that there aren't any options or prompts. This is all empty. And what happens is during the assembly process or during the interview, this will all get filled in on the fly depending on what the user enters here and as contacts. And another aspect then is we create, for each of those selector variables, I create a companion variable, which I call an ID variable. And that is simply a computation that converts the selector variable into an integer. Okay, and then, so how do we get this data into the multiple choice variables? Well, we have this nifty script, which is called, I've called process selector variables. So in this script, the first thing we do is we clear all of our selector variables, which is just starting with a clean slate. And then we run our contacts repeat dialog. We create an item for each contact, which consists of the counter, which is basically the position of that contact in the list, plus a vertical bar, plus the full name. So this is telling the multiple choice variable that I want the option to be number 1, and then I want the prompt to be the name of that person. And then it's going to add each of the names to each of the selector variables. So each of the selector variables, when we click on it, as you saw, it's going to have the list of the names, and when the user chooses a name, they're actually selecting an option which corresponds to the number or the position of that person in the list. So for example, I chose George Jetson here, and George Jetson's option value for the multiple choice variable is 1. So this is telling me the answer to the test data is 1. And then the ID variable is going to convert that into the number 1. Jane. And then finally, I'll show you the interview. Starts out with the contacts repeating dialog. You want to be sure to have the script that processes the selector variables next, and then after that you will have your dialogues, which can have the selector variables placed on them. So that's the component, that's how the component file is set up. Now let's see, how do we get that information into the template? Or rather, how do we code the template so that it inserts the information in the way that we want? So here's my sample template. Looking at this first line, I wanted to insert the full name of the testator. So it's the contact variable full name and then the testator ID in brackets. So how would I insert that, or how would I create that variable? Well, I'm going to open my component manager, put that over here. Okay, so let's say we wanted to create testator's full name. Just find the full name variable in the list, drag it into the template. I can filter this list according to, by typing in _ID, I get all the ID variables. So the testator ID is here, and I drag that into the template and drop it right before the close chevron. Then I change to brackets. And then last step, if I go to my HotDocs ribbon, click on the variable field button, it automatically formats it with a blue font. So let's look at another example. Say we wanted to insert a variable multiple choice variable inserts his or her depending on the gender of the testator's spouse. So how would I do that? So I grab my gender variable and my spouse ID variable, drag that into place, change to brackets, and then we need to format that because we want it to be his or her. So again, I click on my variable field button, change my merge text to be his or her. Now you'll notice when I clicked on that button, HotDocs doesn't pull in the spouse ID variable, but it's okay. It's smart enough to know that, it's smart enough to preserve the ID variable in the proper place. Okay, and I'll do one more, show you one more example. Here's a place where we want to insert the testator's county of residence, and we want to format it as uppercase. So again, I'll look for my county variable, drag that into the template, look at my ID variables, testator ID, drag that in there, change to brackets, and click my variable field button and change the format, or make the format to be all caps. Okay, and that's it. So once you've got your template coded, you're good to go. Thank you for listening, and please feel free to comment, or if you have any questions, you can find my contact information in the video details. Thanks again.